Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you. This is the Bracketology edition of Toadstool Sports for Monday, whatever today is, January 19th. My wires are all crisscrossed here because I don't like to have my headphones on. I don't have anything to listen to. I don't need to listen to my own voice, whatever. College basketball is not on my good side. It was the worst sport that I had today, so I'm not happy about that. The game that I added was a loser, so we would have had a better winning day without that. Northern Colorado, they can fuck right off. Charles, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Dirty Sock, what's up? Yeah, the middle hit. Did you have what did you have? You had a teaser on it or something, or money line? What did you do on the championship game? I thought Miami might win that game, dude. I was flipping out because they might not even cover that game. That would have been bullshit. I mean, they had more yards per play in the game, and I guess I can talk about it more tomorrow when I do the recap. And hopefully there are not that many games I have to handicap for tomorrow. Tuesday, there's usually a moderately sized basketball board. Usually Wednesday's bigger, though. Actually, let me see real quick before I bring this up, because I don't want to have to do it after this show. I'll do it in the morning. There's no way that it's that massive, right? No, it's fine. Very moderately sized for college basketball. But yeah, I mean, Miami, they were kind of in that game the whole time. And then that blocked punt return for touchdown almost ruined the game, almost ruined the cover. But they still hung around, and they had chances to win at the end. Carson Beck interception. I think it was a miscommunication with the receiver that he was throwing to. The receiver, it looked like he was just running a go route or something. I don't know what he was doing, and the throw was way behind him, and it got picked off. I don't know what that was. Money line and Miami plus the points. Parlaying the two. It's kind of dangerous, man, to try to middle it like that, especially on a parlay. I don't know. I don't like the idea. When you're trying to middle it, I would absolutely make them straight bets if you're trying to middle it. I would not have. That's literally an uncorrelated parlay. It's and you don't get good enough odds on it. I would never recommend that. The only parlays that I would even recommend at all really would be a correlated parlay. If this team covering and the under are both tied together, that would make sense. Otherwise, there's no way. And in this game, I think it wound up going over, right? Did it? Or it landed right near the total. I don't know. But yeah, there's no way that I would make an uncorrelated parlay. That's just completely insane. I would make the two bets different straight bets, and then at least the worst case scenario, one is going to lose and the other is going to win. So I don't know. It makes no sense. The NHL was good. There was a goalie fight in one of the games. The NHL was no sweat. Those are easy wins. All right, let's get into this bracketology here. We have some changes here, some updates. This might be a boring show, dude. I have no idea, but I've updated my own bracketology here. We do have a change in the 1 seeds where Arizona remains the overall number 1 seed right now. Michigan is still a 1 seed as well, obviously. They still have that loss there to Wisconsin, but they didn't do anything else to damage their spot this week. UConn remains on the 1 line, and now Duke has taken the last spot on the 1 line because Iowa State has now lost 2 games, and that has dropped Iowa State off of the 1 line onto the 2 line. It was that spot, man, where you lose your first game like that deep into the season. I think you lose the same game twice, and it happened to Vanderbilt as well, which I'll talk about in a minute, which is why they've dropped as well. Purdue hasn't really done anything wrong. They're remaining on the 2 line. Purdue's really legit, man. Like, this year doesn't seem like it's going to be like last year. Last year it was like very clear that the 1 seeds there was kind of a gap between the 1 seeds and everybody else. This year I don't really see that being the case. Like, I think Purdue's really good. Iowa State's still really good. Purdue very experienced. Gonzaga I have still on the 2 line. Obviously I have them winning the West Coast Conference still as well and getting up there. Gonzaga's still an elite team, dude. They're there, and then there's really nothing I could do but have Nebraska on the 2 line now. They've moved up now to the 2 line. A Nebraska program that has never won a game in the tournament at all. If they're a 2 seed, they're going to win a game. They're not going to lose to a 15, man. I wouldn't imagine. Although I probably will not have them going far in the tournament in my bracket, but there's nothing I could do because they're undefeated, so they're a 2 seed right now. Vandy with 2 losses now has dropped to the 3, although a loss to Florida is really not that bad. Florida is legit, man. Like, right now they're going to be a very underseeded team. Houston is on the 3 line, even though they're a 1-loss team in a very good conference. They could potentially move up, man, if something happens. Like, Houston, they're really, really good as well. BYU remains on the 3. That hasn't really changed, and Michigan State hasn't changed their positioning either on the 3. Illinois remains on the 4. Alabama, Texas Tech, I think those teams didn't change either. They're both on the 4 still. Virginia has moved up to the 4, but it was mostly because North Carolina was the team that dropped from the number 4 spot, or from the 4 line, I should say. You straight bet Miami in addition to the parlay. Man, yeah, I mean, well, you know me, like, I'm just giving out, like, exactly what I would play, like, all straight bets, and, yeah, all I had was, yeah, just the Miami spread and then a little bit on the money line in that game. When you have the spread, sprinkle a little bit on the money line. I think it was obviously the right way to go. I mean, the game was very close statistically. Miami actually had more yards per play in the game, I'm pretty sure. A lot of it because of that one huge touchdown run, but their defense held in that game, man. And they had a chance to win at the end. That's what you want when you got a little bit on the money line and when you're playing an underdog like that. So yeah, Virginia's moved up to the 4 line. Kansas, I think I had on the 5 line before, I think, and they're still on the 5 line. Although Kansas really had not been outside of the top 4 seeds for like most of their program history. And like in the Bill Self era, I think last year when they were a 7 was like the first time they were lower than a 4. So if they're lower than a 4 again, it would be pretty strange. Although I guess last year set that precedent. Although Kansas, I mean, they're not that bad of a team. They're definitely better than last year. Florida, like I said, is very, I think, underseeded right now. Like, they've had one of the toughest strengths of schedule out of anybody. They did just beat Vanderbilt. They have moved up, actually, I think, from a 6 to a 5, I want to say here. But they could legitimately be a top 3 seed. Like, they're going to wind up being underseeded probably in the tournament. North Carolina, because they had such a bad West Coast trip, losing both games to Stanford and Cal, they have dropped to the 5 line. Arkansas is sitting on the 5 line as well, just ahead of Clemson. Clemson and Arkansas I could kind of see flipped maybe, but Clemson is on the 6. Louisville on the 6. Villanova, I think, has moved up a little bit to the 6. I think I had them a little bit lower than that. They just haven't really done anything wrong in the Big East for the most part. Tennessee, really, really kind of... yeah, it's not going too well for Tennessee, right? They did just lose to Kentucky, so Tennessee is hanging around on the 6 line here, which is lower than what they have been the last few years, but they're not quite as good as they were those last few years. Utah State has moved up to the 7. I mean, Utah State, they just continue to, they look like they're going to dominate the Mountain West pretty much. Although, obviously, if they don't win the Mountain West tournament, like unless something really crazy happens, they're going to get an at-large bid anyway, so it doesn't really matter. SMU just kind of hanging out on the 7 line as well. No real change there. St. John's has been looking pretty good since a rough start to the season. They're looking all right in the Big East. They're looking to be really the only competition in the Big East to UConn, to be honest. Like, I think they're actually better than Villanova. I think they just beat Villanova, didn't they? Which you don't really knock Villanova for losing that game. St. John's still on the 7. UCF on the 7 right now as well. They've been playing pretty well as well in a decent conference, so they get some credit for that. I believe they just played pretty tough against Arizona, even though they lost. It was a close game. Miami is sitting on the 8 line, even though I think they just had a loss to, I forget who it was. They lost to somebody that's better than they are in the ACC, but they don't really get knocked for that or docked for it. Seton Hall had that loss to Butler that was a win for me as a bet on the show. So Seton Hall dropped, I think, 1 ranking spot because of that. USC, I believe I actually moved USC up, and it's because a lot of these teams around them have taken losses recently, so they're up sitting on the 8 line right now. I just don't really know what to do with USC, although we're kind of in the bubble territory here, but they were like ranked to start the season. They're really not actually that good, but I think they're going to be in the tournament. I don't know. It's a very weird scenario with USC, and they just played Purdue, I think, really close and almost beat Purdue, so maybe they'll get a little bit of credit for a good loss there. I don't know. I don't know how much credit you get for that, really. And then NC State, I didn't really know what to do with them either. They just took a loss to Georgia Tech, which is really not good, but I think I had them somewhere on the 8 or the 9 line, but I just couldn't figure out where to put them because I'm dealing with all these other teams from smaller conferences here. St. Louis, I think, is staying on the 9 line, and they're projected to win the A-10 unless something crazy happens. But I think unless something crazy happens as far as them like having a horrible stretch for the later part of the season, they should get an at-large bid if they don't win the Atlantic 10 conference tournament. St. Mary's dropped a little bit because they did lose to Santa Clara, although that's not a terrible loss, but they're on the 9 line where I did have them in the 8 line, I think, prior to that. Georgia took a loss to Ole Miss, I think, earlier in the week, so they're sitting down on the 9 line. I think I did drop them slightly. Wisconsin remaining on the, or I think I might have moved Wisconsin up, actually, to the 9 line. That win against Michigan is going to play really well for Wisconsin's resume, that and the name recognition that they have. But I believe they haven't lost since then, if I'm not mistaken. Let me make sure of that real quick. But I have them on the 9 line right now anyway. That's correct. But they've beaten cupcakes since then, basically. Well, Minnesota had a decent record, at least when they beat them, and they beat Rutgers in their last game, which was expected. Auburn in danger of not making the tournament for the first time in a while, sitting on the 10 line, mostly just because they have a difficult conference and resume so far. Iowa also sitting on the 10 line. Don't know what to do with this Iowa team. They did just beat Indiana, but they're probably not going to get that much credit for that, and I'm still pissed about it because that was one of my losers on the show. But yeah, Iowa, don't really know what to do with them, but first year under Ben McCollum there, or McCollum, however you pronounce his name. They're there on the 10 line right now. Texas A&M sneaking in on the 10 line as well, mostly on strength of schedule. And then Kentucky still hanging in there, really relying on that win over Tennessee to remain in the tournament right now. Things not going well for Kentucky. I think they're going to be drastically underseeded, though. This Kentucky team is not bad, like by any means. So having them on the 10 line seems pretty insane. Then I have UCLA as the last team getting into the field of 64, but that was almost entirely because I have so many Big Ten teams on the bubble, and possibly getting into the play-ins. I had to move one of them into the actual round of 64, so I made it be UCLA because I had them ahead of Indiana and Ohio State, but I could not have all 3 of those teams in the play-ins because you can't have 2 teams from the same conference playing each other. So I had to put UCLA into the last spot in the actual tournament for the at-larges. That means the play-ins do have Indiana and Ohio State in them, and I have Indiana playing against New Mexico, where New Mexico, I was going to give them the last bye, actually, into the tournament right now, but because I have to switch things around because of the conferences, and the Mountain West will probably get screwed anyway. I have New Mexico as a play-in team right now. They're playing pretty well. They did just take a loss to San Diego State, but it was a close loss, and I don't think they're going to really get docked too much for that. San Diego State's kind of in the bubble discussion now. And then I have Missouri playing Ohio State in the other play-in game. So those are the last 4 teams in: New Mexico, Indiana, Missouri, and Ohio State playing in the play-ins. And then for the first 4 out, Baylor actually outside of the tournament field now. The first team out, Stanford, even though they did just beat North Carolina, they're still on the outside. Oklahoma State, who I really don't think deserves to be in anyway. Like, they just, again, they had a week out of conference schedule. They're not looking as good in conference. They're in the first 4 out, though, and so is Texas. Texas is going to need to do more, even though they did beat Alabama, I believe. Not enough. And then the next 4 out, Virginia Tech sliding down to the next 4 out. I believe in some of my brackets I had them in one of the play-ins, but they're probably not going to be good enough. And then LSU falling out as well. TCU, who needed to get one of those wins against one of those better teams, hasn't done it. And then George Mason in the last of the next 4 out. They did win against George Washington earlier today, which I thought George Mason might drop that game, but they did not, and they're a 1-loss team in the A-10 right now. So for now, they're actually on the bubble. Still not very close to the tournament, though. Like, I don't think they're going to make the tournament unless they win the A-10. And that's that for the at-larges. Now, we do have the small conference wins. Tulsa is now, I have them winning the American again. And that's, I did have South Florida, but South Florida just lost to Wichita State, I believe. And Tulsa beat UAB, hasn't lost, I believe, since the previous bracketology. So they're now back winning the American for me. America East, no change. Vermont is just the dominant team in that conference, so I don't really see them losing that. Tulsa, by the way, with that win in the American, I have them getting an 11 seed in the tournament. That's just based on kind of power ratings and where I have them. And then Vermont is just bad. Like, America East, terrible conference. All right, is it the America East or the American East? I don't even know. But Vermont gets into one of the 16 play-ins. That's how bad the rest of that conference is right now, man. Like, Vermont, I'm used to them winning that conference and seeing them on, like, the 13-14 line, but I don't think that's going to be the case this year. That is a bad conference, and Vermont is still the best team in that conference, and it's not really that close. Of course, St. Louis winning the A-10, as I already mentioned. They're getting a pretty decent seed there. They'll probably get an at-large, like I said, if they do not win the tournament there for their conference. Duke still winning the ACC, although it's looking like it might be a bit of a closer call right now between Duke and Virginia, actually. I think might be the team that might be able to threaten them at all in the ACC. All right, Atlantic Sun Lipscomb is now back in the driver's seat because they beat Austin Peay. So those two teams have kind of been flipping back and forth as far as who's going to win that conference. It is Lipscomb again, and I have them getting a 15 seed. Atlantic Sun, very weak conference this year, man. So we'll see. It could be these small conferences, you never know what's going to happen. It could be some smaller team getting in. Big 12, of course, I have Arizona winning it, and they're the number 1 overall seed. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win the conference. Some of these big conferences, of course, like when a team is, like, when they have a 1 seed, like, wrapped up, sometimes they just won't care about winning the conference tournament, and sometimes it takes too much out of you to win the conference tournament. So these big conference tournaments are harder to predict, but that's what I have right now. Big East, UConn still winning that one, obviously. Big Sky, not happy about it, but Montana State remaining as the team winning that conference. They beat me tonight, beating Northern Colorado for the 2nd time. Not happy about that. And they already beat Montana as well once. So they're winning the Big Sky right now. They're in the 15 seed. Big South, High Point, no surprise there, no change there. They're the dominant team in that conference still, despite losing to Winthrop. I don't see them losing that conference, but you never know. Again, one bad game can knock you out of the conference tournament, which is why the top conference tournaments are so crazy. High Point getting a 13 seed if they win that conference. Big Ten, of course, still have Michigan being the winner there. Possible it could be close between Michigan, maybe Purdue in the mix there. And by the way, UConn, I think St. John's might be the one potential threat to them there. Actually, maybe Villanova, I guess, but we'll see for the Big East there. Big West, Hawaii remains in the driver's seat in that conference, and I have them getting a 13 seed. Colonial, Hofstra, no change there. Pretty weak conference, though, really. They're getting a 14 seed. Liberty winning a Conference USA that I don't find to be that strong either and getting a 13 seed. Still have them in the driver's seat there. Still have Wright State winning the Horizon, although, again, I think Oakland is definitely in the mix for the Horizon. I think right now it's between those two teams. I don't really see Green Bay being real, even though I know there's the stupid Doug Gottlieb hype there, and they've been doing all right in the conference, but it's still Wright State for now, getting a 14 seed. The Ivy is Yale, no change there. The Ivy looks pretty weak this year, man. I would be pretty surprised if Yale's not the winner of the Ivy, but again, one bad game can knock you out of it, although the Ivy, they limit their tournament to just 4 teams, though, the top 4 teams. So the winner only has to win 2 games. Although that's the case with some of the other conferences too, because they have so many buys that they give to like the top couple of teams, like the West Coast Conference. It's always like Gonzaga gets a bye to the semifinals, which is like the 5th round of the tournament. So yeah, whatever. But I have Yale getting a 12 seed. Marist still winning the MAAC, even though they're behind a couple of the teams in the conference. I don't think Merrimack is real. Not quite sure that St. Peter's is real either, even though they beat me today. Stupid Iona. But I do have Marist still winning that conference. That would be interesting because I don't know if they've ever won it. They would get a 15 seed, according to me, if they win it. The MAC, I still have Akron winning it and getting a 12 seed right now. Still not buying Miami, Ohio, even though they are better than we thought they were, but they still faced a weak schedule. I still have Akron winning that conference. The MEAC, the real dregs there. I have Howard still winning that one and getting the literal last seed in the entire tournament. One of the 16 play-ins and the weakest of all the teams. Belmont still winning the Missouri Valley, although it's a competitive conference. Like I said, there's Belmont in there. Illinois State's in the mix. Northern Iowa might be in the mix. What other teams are even in that conference? I forget. Southern Illinois at least is underrated there. And then, Bradley might still be in the mix as well. One of those teams I forgot to even shout out last week, but whatever. Not the Drake. I don't think they're going to win, man. Sorry. Sorry to the Drake.
Boy, I'm really starting to dislike the Drake.
Hate the Drake.
So I have Belmont getting a 12 seed if they win that conference. Utah State, of course, winning the Mountain West, as I said. They'll get in that large almost certainly if they don't win it. So there could wind up being a bid steal in the Mountain West potentially, because the only other Mountain West team I even have in at all is New Mexico. So fairly weak Mountain West right now, though. San Diego State, I still think Boise's not that bad. San Diego State's fairly legit. And then Grand Canyon doesn't look that bad either. So I don't know, man. The Northeast Conference, Long Island, easily the winner of that conference. They should be, at least. But again, you never know. In a small conference like that, some crazy shit can happen. And sometimes it does, like last year with St. Francis getting in. But either way, weak conference. I have Long Island getting one of the play-ins for a 16 seed. Ohio Valley, I have UT Martin winning it still and getting one of the 16 seeds as well and avoiding the play-in. But again, that conference is like, we could see like some other team winning it for sure. Lindenwood, which would be their first tournament bid ever if that happens. SEMO, I think, is in the mix still as well. Maybe a couple other teams in there. Tennessee State, maybe. I don't know. Patriot, I have Colgate winning it again. That switched from Navy because Navy, I believe, just took a loss, I'm pretty sure, to some. I forget. Because I think we faded whoever beat Navy, right? And didn't get the win, I think, yesterday. Who did we fade? I don't even remember. But Colgate is now back atop the Patriot League. They're getting another 16 seed there and avoiding the play-in. Terrible league, though, the Patriot League. Probably is going to be Colgate or Navy, but I don't know. Love the Drake. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. SEC, I still have Vandy winning it, down to a 3 seed. Though honestly, Florida, power ratings wise, Florida is one of the best teams in the SEC, man. Like probably the second best, even though they're seeded below Alabama right now. But I think it's between Vandy and Florida, in my opinion, in that conference. SEC, a little bit weaker this year than it was last year. Southern, I still have East Tennessee winning at the SoCon and getting a 14 seed. Right now, it looks like it's kind of between East Tennessee and Mercer are the two teams that are kind of atop that conference right now. I was considering maybe giving it to Mercer now, but we'll see. Right now, I'm still leaving it as East Tennessee. I think they did just take a loss, though, to Western Carolina, I want to say, which wasn't that great of a loss. But again, we'll see. That conference looks wide open to me anyway. Wofford might be in the mix again. Furman, maybe a couple of those other teams. Southland, I still have McNeese winning it, even though they did take a loss. Stephen F. Austin has a better record and looks to be really the only competition that might actually bounce McNeese would be Stephen F. Austin, but I have McNeese winning it still the best team in that conference. They're getting a 12 seed. SWAC, I have Southern back winning it again. I had Grambling last week, but Southern just beat Grambling. So now Southern, I'm giving the nod to them. They're in that last 16 play-in as the second worst team in the entire field. Summit League, I still have St. Thomas, even though they lost to North Dakota State. I just still think they're the better team, man. It's just the way it is, at least for now. It's close. It's going to be, I think it should be one of those two teams. St. Thomas for now. Plus, I want to believe in the Tommies finally getting their first tournament bid. They're in the 15 seed there. Troy's still winning the Sun Belt here. I believe they did just get their revenge over Arkansas State as well. So they're 1-1 against Arkansas State. Southern Miss kind of in the mix in that conference, but it's going to be one of those conference tournaments that could get a little crazy too. But it is one that has a lot of buys in it too. Troy getting a 14 seed. Gonzaga, of course, still winning the West Coast Conference. They're elite. Don't really see them losing that conference. And right now, it's as usual, it's just them and St. Mary's getting in, but maybe Santa Clara can be a threat in that conference. I don't really see any other team doing it, although, San Francisco's done okay, and Seattle is in that conference now and plays some decent defense at least. And then because Seattle and Grand Canyon left the WAC is basically, it should be taken by Utah Valley this year. I mean, they're definitely the best team in that conference now. We will see Utah Valley getting a 13 seed there. And that does it, man. That is my bracketology for now for this week. And then I usually compare it with Joe Lunardi here and see what he has to say. He does have Arizona as the top overall seed, which I do as well. He has Texas as the last team in, which I do not. I have Texas first four out and not really that close. So we differ here. He updated his prior to the weekend, though. So his was updated on the 16th, so mine is more updated than his. And he has UCLA as the first team out, and I have them as the last team getting a bye in. So we definitely have some differences here. His one seeds are Arizona, Michigan, UConn, and Duke, which matches mine. So no change. No difference between what we have there. You do straight bets in addition to the parlays. I mean, my recommendation is based on, if you want to actually do this, as a business, for profit, I would say never do parlays. That would be my opinion, because you just don't get good enough odds on it ever. That's why the books want you to play them. So that is how I look at it. I mean, if you're gonna put small amounts of money on it for fun, I guess fine. You just have to consider it a continuous entertainment expense, basically. So yeah, that's the way I look at it. Lunardi, the last four teams in, he has Kentucky, Auburn, USC, and Texas A&M as the last four buys. Similar to mine. I have, what did I have? I had Iowa, Texas A&M, Kentucky, and UCLA there, so we are the same on two of them. And I have Auburn just one spot further into the tournament than he does, so very close with those. But then I have UCLA in, and he doesn't even have them in, so I have them as getting a bye. But I was going to have them the last 4 in, but I had to move them in because I did have them above Indiana, Ohio State. He does have Indiana, Ohio State, New Mexico. He matches 3 of my last 4 in. Texas is the one that does not match. And I have Missouri. And he has Missouri in his first 4 out. So we're not far off here. Although he's in the past based on, versus what I have. He has UCLA, Missouri, TCU, and Stanford first 4 out. I have Stanford in the first 4 out. I have TCU in the next 4 out. He has Virginia Tech, San Diego State, Creighton, and Baylor in the next 4 out. I have Baylor, the first team out. San Diego State not on my bubble. Creighton not on my bubble. And then I do have Virginia Tech in the next 4 out. So we do have some differences there. As far as the 64, the field of 64, I think we've differed on 2 this time. But again, I'm living, a few days in the future from what he's doing. And then out of the field of 68, I think we differ on 2, maybe, because I have UCLA and Missouri in, and he has them both out. So those are the 2 that we differ on. And then he has Texas in, and what's his other team that he has in that I don't have in? That doesn't make sense. There have to be 2, right? I don't know. That's weird. Maybe the way that he has his auto bids, there's a different amount of seeds or something that could be taken up. I don't know. I don't know what is going on there, but whatever. That's going to do it, man. That's the bracketology for tonight. Yeah, short and sweet. I don't know. I don't know if you guys, do you guys like the bracketology videos? I don't know. It's kind of autistic. It's just me. I don't know. I do my bracketology every year. I usually put it out like on Twitter and whatever, but instead I'm doing it here. I don't know. I don't know if people like it or if they don't, but that's going to do it, man. Learn to Toad on Twitter, Learn to Toad on Instagram. I'll be back in the morning, of course. Here, subscribe here on YouTube, obviously. Give me good comments here. Listen on audio, review on audio. That helps me as well. Spotify, Apple, covered in Uke, my Uke channel on YouTube. You can check that out, obviously. Patreon.com/LearnToToad for some bonus stuff. Losercast will be back tomorrow, so you can check that out as well. I will be back with a new episode at 10 p.m. Eastern, I believe, after Legion of Skanks. And that's going to do it. And this show will be back in the morning as usual. And, yeah, we'll recap today, which was a win for me, but not a huge win. Oh, well, you like the autism. All right, well, that's good. That'll do it for now. Peace. And we go out of focus just because of me doing that. All right, peace, everybody.